evening. Thanks for joining us. This is the news at 7 on NTA International. I'm Ruth Aguele and my sign language interpreter is Shagun Ajayi. Let's bring you the headlines. President Buhari pledges Nigeria support to scale up financing for climate change adaptation in Africa. Acting Inspector General of Police tasked on salvaging and protecting dignity of the Nigerian police force as Vice President decorates him. Plus, Rwandans remember victims of 1994 genocide. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo this Wednesday decorated the Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, at a brief ceremony held at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The Vice President urges the Acting Inspector General of Police to put up his best to salvage and protect the dignity of the Nigerian police force by being a bridge builder between the police and the people. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
And regain the confidence of the citizenry. This is an ongoing challenge, it's an ongoing task that the police force and all of the senior members of the police force must take on as a responsibility, that of a continual process of building trust with the Nigerian public. One of the ways it can do this is by implementing the community policing policy, which had already taken off, and reconceptualizing policing as a task carried out in partnership with local communities and by officers who are members of these localities. Under your leadership, the force must live up to all of the highest standards of professional conduct and compliance with the rule of law. It must significantly improve the welfare and working conditions of its officers while rapidly scaling up its forensic, logistical and operational capacities to meet today's challenges. You must stamp out the excesses and abuses and the culture of impunity demonstrated by some elements of the force which provoke public outrage against the institution.
In a related development, the immediate past Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has transferred the symbol of authority to the Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba. Francis Form reports that the Acting IGP acknowledged the enormous task before him and gave assurance on the restoration of the primacy of the force in the internal security architecture of the country. We'll bring you the details in our subsequent bulletin. All right, let's look at other issues. President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged Nigeria support for the African Adaptation Acceleration Program developed to scale up financing for climate change adaptation in Africa. The president was speaking at the virtual leaders dialogue on the Africa COVID climate emergency convened by the African Development Bank and the Global Center for Adaptation. Let's hear more from Onange Fives.
Although Africa contributes only 3% to global carbon emission, it is the most hit by the effects of climate change, which costs the continent $15 billion every year and could rise to $40 billion by 2040. President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Uyama, wants the African Adaptation Acceleration Program to further boost Nigeria's adaptation priority, to strengthen its coastal resilience and delta management, by supporting national-level infrastructure, sector-specific strategies, policies, and programs.
So Nigeria welcomes wholeheartedly the launch of the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program as an initiative to address regional adaptation gaps and support the transition of countries to low-carbon development pathways. Being one of the most vulnerable nations, Nigeria will not hesitate to leverage on this program to forestall the exacerbating impact of climate change.
Africa is one of the most vulnerable continents to climate change and climate vulnerability, a situation that unfortunately has been aggravated by the COVID-19 pandemic.
We cannot wait until this silent crisis reaches pandemic levels before we act. We have to act now and do so with gusto. For failure to act now will be catastrophic.
On its part, the African Development Bank, convener of the Virtual Leaders Dialogue on Africa COVID Climate Emergency, is already making progress on climate adaptation financing, but insists that developed countries must fulfill promises made to developing nations to help them consolidate on their adaptation programs.
It is time for developed countries to meet their promise of providing $100 billion annually for climate finance. And a greater share of this should go to climate adaptation.
I ask that by COP26, we have concrete proposals on the table to make access to climate finance easier and faster, including for African nations. Support for climate adaptation in Africa is crucial.
Investment and trade in key environmental goods and services can make climate adaptation much more affordable for Africa.
The Leaders Dialogue received commitments from several African heads of government, the International Monetary Fund, the African Union, World Trade Organization, United States of America, among others. Onengie Fine Face, NTA News.
Nigeria has demonstrated more readiness to further deepen multilateral cooperation with the D8 member nations to achieve our development aspirations. Well, this was at the 19th meeting of the D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation held online. Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama, who reiterated Nigeria's commitment in the organization, urged member nations to fully utilize the technology transfer, an exchange network platform to promote sustainable development.
Is another progressive initiative that would undoubtedly assist member states' quest to achieve the sustainable development goals of ending hunger, achieving food security, improving nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture.
At the meeting, the Minister Present Ambassador Isiaka Abdul Qadir Imam as Nigeria's nominee for the post of Secretary General of the organization. D8 is an organization for development cooperation comprising Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Nigeria, Pakistan, and Turkey. The objectives of D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation are to improve member states' position in the global economy, diversify and create new opportunities. All right, let's bring you more news on the foreign scene. European Medicines Agency finds possible link between AstraZeneca jab and rare cases of unusual blood clots. And Rwanda remembers victims of the 1994 Tutsi genocide 27 years on. Joyce Ometu is standing by with details.
The embattled AstraZeneca vaccine has come under further pressure Wednesday as the European Union's medicines regulator found a possible link between the shot and rare cases of blood clots. The European Medicines Agency's widely anticipated verdict followed a review of reports of an extremely rare clot in the brain. In the meantime, UK government's vaccination advisory body has announced that it will offer young people below 30 years of age an alternative jab due to the risks. There is also a reported surge in India with 115,736 new coronavirus infections registered in 24 hours. The Delhi government has imposed the night curfew to check the surge. Global positive cases have reached 133.2 million, with 2.8 million fatalities. Meanwhile, an update released by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency shows that a total of 964,387 eligible Nigerians have so far been vaccinated against COVID-19, representing 48% of the proportion vaccinated. Away from health, the president of Ivory Coast has said that the former leader, Laurent Gbagbo, and his right-hand man, Charles Blé Good, are free to return to the country after they were acquitted of crimes against humanity. Alassane Ouattara was speaking a week after the International Criminal Court upheld Mr. Gbagbo's acquittal in a case that focused on post-election violence a decade ago. It has been 27 years since the 1994 Tutsi genocide started in Rwanda, a sad day commemorated each year by the Rwandan presidency to remember the victims of the orchestrated mass killings. Rwandan President Paul Kagame, alongside his wife Jeanette, lit the flame of hope at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, where the remains of 250,000 victims were buried. It is estimated that close to 1 million people died in the 1994 genocide, which to this day remains a painful scar for the Rwandan people. And that ends this segment. I am Joyce Ometu.
Well, exactly 27 years today in history, thousands of lives in Rwanda were consumed by ethnic-motivated cleansing sparked by radio broadcast. Abdullahi Ajia examines the lessons of this day, which many condemn in its entirety.
On 23 December 2003, the United Nations General Assembly agreed to celebrate this day on 7 April every year. The day, globally recognized as the International Day of Reflection on the Genocide in Rwanda, remains one of the greatest nightmares to human life in Africa and indeed the world, where in just 100 days, 800,000 women, men and children were massacred in senseless ethnic and political cleansing between the Hutus and Tutsis, which was sparked by a radio broadcast.
Listen to me, good people of Rwanda. Terrible news. Yes, horrible news. Our great president is murdered by the Tutsi cockroaches. It is time to clear the brush, good Hutus of Rwanda. We must cut the tall trees. Cut the tall trees now.
On this day, many people around the world hold memorial as a mark of respect for the innocent lives lost during the inglorious period. The day is also a time for diplomats and key community figures to talk with communities about the atrocities of genocide.
The only way to truly honor the memory of those who were killed in Rwanda is to ensure that such events never occur again. Preventing genocide and other monstrous crimes is a shared responsibility and the core duty of the United Nations. The world must always be alert to the warning signs of genocide and act quickly and early against the threat.
Our people should develop attitudes that will help us be more proactive. When people start complaining, that is the point where intervention must happen.
There are so many violent conflicts around us, but we mustn't kill and destroy each time we disagree.
Experts say the historic lessons in the Rwandan genocide for countries and regions of the world is to nip in the bud early warning signs of ethnic discrimination and comments that incite one group against another. In Abuja, Abdullahi Ajia, NTA News.
Thank you, Abdullahi, for that. The World Health Organization wants world leaders to address the root cause of health inequalities to ensure that everyone has access to good health care services anywhere and whenever they need them. Well, the theme for this year's celebration of World Health Day is time to build a fairer, healthier world, leaving no one behind. Basita Ipang takes a look at the 2021 World Health Day in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Health is a fundamental human right. Every person deserves to live a healthy life, regardless of their age, gender, ethnicity, disability, economic situation, or employment. Health experts regret that progress in tackling health disparity has been slow worldwide, especially in countries where people are experiencing emergencies and conflict, with large number of displaced people.
The World Health Organization has for many years concerned itself with the health and well-being of populations spread across member states.
April 7 is also set aside as World Health Day to draw the attention of world leaders to make health care services available to everybody, no matter the location.
Attention to our shared humanity and the essence of global solidarity.
This year's celebration also focuses on the COVID-19 pandemic, which report says has had grave consequences for people already experiencing inequities, with estimated 124 million more people pushed into extreme poverty in the last year. A key challenge in overcoming inequities, experts say, is limited data showing who is being missed and why. And to address this, national health information systems need to capture age, sex, and equity stratified data that can be used to inform decision and policy making. Basi Taipan, NTA News.
All right, let's go on a short break. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
Thanks for being there. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has applauded the roads rehabilitation projects by the Imo State government, describing it as being in sync with the federal government's policy on achieving safer roads. He made this known at the inauguration of the newly rehabilitated Dick Tiger Road in Owerri. Bright Ebocho has details.
The 3-kilometer Dick Tiger Road covers over 10 streets and had been in a very deplorable state for close to 20 years. The road therefore attracted the attention of the Imo State government in view of its economic importance. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while inaugurating the road, lauded Governor Hope Uzodinma for his determination in repositioning Imo State, noting that there can be no meaningful economic growth without infrastructural development.
Anyone who perpetrates violence does not represent the progressive mindedness of the good people of this state and this region. And I call on all of us to come together to resist any attempts to turn progress and peace that this zone is set to experience to conflict and disruption.
Governor Hope Uzodinma restates that the vision of his administration is to ensure easy movement of goods and services across the 27 local government areas of the state, as it will boost commercial activities and real estate.
We've become the torchbearer of the party, spreading the gospel of development with our sterling performance as a standard bearer. By 2023, when there will be another opportunity for the people to choose a party of their choice, I have no doubt in my mind that the entire people of Southeast will gladly embrace APC.
The Dick Tiger Road is one out of the others being constructed across the 27 local government areas of Imo State. In Owerri, Bright Ebocho, NTA News.
The National Emergency Management Agency says the agency has articulated early warning messages that would be developed in collaboration with stakeholders to take necessary proactive actions required to facilitate risk reduction across the country. Director General of the agency, Air Vice Marshal Mohammed, stated this at an experts technical meeting organized to analyze the 2021 seasonal rainfall prediction. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
Make sure that whatever we discuss here is translated in the classroom, meaning that the 6 centers of disaster risk management and development studies will surely reflect the outcome of what we are doing in the next few weeks.
Every year, farming activities and flood management usually depend on seasonal rainfall predictions by the Nigerian Meteorological Services Agency, NIMET. According to the predictions, 2021 is expected to experience normal to above normal rainfall. This technical meeting attracted experts from across the country who converge to deliberate extensively and come up with an effective mechanism that will allow stakeholders at federal, state and local government levels to prepare adequately to mitigate and respond to anticipated climate risks and secondary hazards whenever the need arises. Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, Air Vice Marshal Muhammadu Mohammed said the agency will continue to encourage and promote effective cooperation, collaboration and partnership for efficient management of disaster in Nigeria.
This gathering has become more relevant considering our past experiences of unprecedented flood and other disasters that had affected several states of Nigeria and wreaked havoc on communities and drastically affected our collective disaster resilience.
The meeting is also expected to deliberate on the new approach of disaster management, which focuses on being proactive rather than reactive. In Abuja, Ilyasu Aliakou, NTA News.
Media practitioners and owners have been enjoined to eschew sensationalism in their publications and tour the path of absolute professionalism. Executive Secretary, Nigerian Press Council, Francis Wonso, handed down the advice against the background of recent media reports that seek to heighten the state of affairs in the country. Anthony Forson has more to tell us.
Recent media reports have continued to generate discourse, giving credence to doubt the credibility of such media platforms. It is in the light of this that the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Press Council, Francis Nwosu, says there should be a high level of responsibility and patriotism.
It's unfortunate. We have received several reports of ethnic profiling. Ethnic profiling of herdsmen, killings of the IPOP against any section of the country. It is not in the interest of Nigeria. Whether in the print media or the electronic media, private or government media, the ethics of that profession must uphold the unity and indivisibility of Nigeria and the oneness of the Nigerian people.
He wondered why sensationalism must be brought to bear in the noble profession, which ought to be guided by ethics and not sensationalism, given the state of affairs in the country, enumerating truth, accuracy, independence, fairness, and impartiality, as well as confidentiality, as the hallmark of the journalism profession. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with the newly appointed Emir of Kagara, Alhaji Ahmed Garba Guna. The president urges the new emir to use the wealth of experience garnered in the public sector to serve the people and bring development to his domain. President Buhari equally tasked the monarch to use his position as a grassroots personality to engender protection of lives and property, stressing that the traditional institution has a great role to play in security. In a statement by his media advisor, Femi Adesina, the president praised that the new emir's reign will bring peace, security, development, and progress to Kagara. And let's look at sports. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says the National Sports Festival is not only an avenue for athletes to display their sporting prowess, but a veritable tool for opportunity for promoting the unity of Nigeria. The Vice President stated this while declaring open the 20th edition of the National Sports Festival tagged Edo 2020 in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Elizabeth Omoko reports.
The much-awaited 20th National Sports Festival, NSF, finally kicked off with an opening ceremony at the renovated Samagbamuda Stadium, coming after 1 year of postponement due to a coronavirus pandemic and 27 months since the 19th National Sports Festival ended in Abuja. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, represented by the Minister of Sports, expressed President Muhammadu Buhari's determination in engaging youth productively. He wants both the public and private sectors to invest in sports.
The reach of this festival, it engages our youth, and the National Sports Festival deserves a foremost place in the priority of any government. An investment in both our sports men and women and in sporting infrastructure is most desired.
Governor Basaki emphasized on the need for peace, tolerance, and brotherhood.
Our dear athletes, all of you have come from different parts of the country, and this game belongs to you. Please compete fairly in the games and show us all the products of the many hours you spend practicing to be the best in what you do.
Already, 6,500 athletes are jostling for 635 gold medals, 635 silver medals, and 885 bronze medals in 32 sports during the 12-day-long events. In Benin, Elizabeth Omako, NTA News.
And more sports news with Kene Ima-Abodike.
Until the 18th of this month. The league management company says the second transfer window is on presently and will close at the midnight of April 14, imploring all the clubs to use the opportunity to strengthen their teams.
The officiating of the matches, both home and away, I tell you, is free and fair. And that's what we want in the league. Because when you have this kind of officiating, definitely you will know the good coaches that are on ground, and you will know the good players that are on ground. And now we start to see one of the players playing, you understand, for the Super Eagles.
At the end of the first stanza, Kwara United are on top of the standings with 36 points, while Adamawa United remain at the rock bottom with 12 points in 19 games. The need to discover, educate, empower and mentor Nigerian girls through impactful sporting activities and programs was re-echoed as the Association of Former Female Athletes of Nigeria, AFAN, joined the rest of the world to mark International Day of Sport for Development and Peace, which is observed every year on April 6.
We know that sport is a unifying factor, and any country that takes sport seriously will enjoy peace considerably. Because the essence of sports is to unite citizens together.
Once the youth are occupied, definitely you minimize insecurity.
This year's celebration centered on reaffirming the place of sport in the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, amongst others. With sports update, Kene Ima-Abodike, NTA News.
All right, let's find out how Thursday's weather will fare. A short announcement before we go. Reports just reaching us says federal government is inviting the general public to a scheduled Zoom town hall meeting scheduled to tomorrow, April 8, 2021 at 10 a.m. You can join with the meeting ID that is 833-7048-9228. Passcode 800572. I take that again. The meeting ID is 833-7048-9228. Passcode 800572. All right, that's the news. And do remember that you should stand against rape and rapists by connecting with NTA. I'm Ruth Aguele, and my sign language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi. Bye.